Greetings, welcome back to another session of TESOL Methods and Materials. Today we're going to be talking about strategies-based instruction, or SBI. Good language learners are those that have a variety of strategies that they can use to get the language into their brain. They have good tips and tricks. And we're going to talk about strategies, what a good language learner does, and how you as a teacher can infuse good strategies into your teaching and into your students' repertoire of tools. First thing we're going to want to look at is this whole idea of strategic investment. An investment, again, is something that's important for your students to have. They have to know that it's valuable, the work that they're doing. So a strategic investment refers to the strategies that are involved in getting that valuable stuff. And for language learners, it's a variety of tools, tips, tricks, techniques that students use in order to learn language. And I know that I do a variety of tricks when I'm trying to learn a language or when I'm trying to communicate. I use up-down and top-down processing. I ask questions. I try to circumlocute. I use a variety of tips and tricks in order to get meaning across and to learn language. Students want to learn the same thing. However, many students, they are unaware that those tips and those tricks even exist. Some of them use them without thinking, but they do exist. You know, they've got to put that in the forefront of their mind. We want to get them to think metacognitively, metalinguistically about the tools and the tricks that they use to learn language. So we as teachers, we want to give those tools to the students so that they can become autonomous learners, so that they can take the things that they've learned and make it automatic. So that they don't need us, they become independent learners and they can do things for themselves. That's what we want to do with these strategies. If you were to go ask your language learning students what tools they use, what things they do to help them learn, you'd probably force them to sit down and think about the tips and tricks that they do use. Here is a list, a compilation of of tips and tricks that students have told researchers about things that they do. A good language learner is one who finds their own way. They take ownership. They own their learning. Okay, that's internal motivation. They have intrinsic motivation, and so they're going to find their own way to try to learn language. They're creative. If one way doesn't work, they're going to try another. They're going to try a variety of things in order to help them learn. As I recall, there was a gentleman by the name of Fredericks, I believe his name was. He was a slave right around the turn of the end of slavery, and he was the son of a slave. He was a slave boy, and he wanted to learn how to read, and so he tricked the educated kids, the white kids, into teaching him how to read. It was very wise. He was creative, and of course now he's Douglas. I think it's Douglas Fredericks. Yeah, he was famous for his writings later in life after he became a free man. But as far as language learning is concerned, he was creative. He found ways to get the information that he wanted, and a good language learner is going to do that. A good language learner is going to make opportunities to learn language. He's not going to shy away. I do remember going into the post office, and I needed to buy a stamp, but I didn't know what the word stamp was. So I had to be creative. I had to figure out a way to do this. I wasn't going to let that stop me. I oftentimes, when I was learning Japanese or when I was learning Spanish, I would deliberately go to an event that was all in that native language, and there were a lot of words I didn't know. I was forced to learn while I was in those opportunities. A good language learner is going to do that. A good language learner will live with ambiguity. I'll never forget the first couple of months that I was in Japan, and I would go to listen to someone speak at a meeting or a convention or even at church, and I would go there, and it's all I would hear is pshh, because I didn't understand anything. It was all snow. It was all gobbledygook. Eventually I began to hear the endings of words, you know, and I began to notice a word and say, oh, I know that one word in a sea of all these other unknown words. And but I didn't get frustrated with it. Well, I was like, hey, I don't know, I don't understand, so I'm going to have to live with it. And let it go, let it pass. You'll pick it up some other time as you come through again. And good language learners are going to do that. Look at little kids with first language learning. There are a lot of things they don't understand. Hey, don't worry, just forget about it. All right, we'll come back later. We'll come back later with this. Make sure that your affective filter is not so high. Anyway, living with ambiguity, that's a good thing. Using mnemonics, and there are little tricks to help us learn things. You remember the spaces on The G clef music score. What are the names of the spaces? Yeah, FACE, right? And that's a mnemonic, face. Or the other, yeah, every good boy does fine. That's the other mnemonic. What's the colors of the spectrum, right? Roy G. Biv. Those are mnemonics. Those are little tricks, little words or phrases that constitute meaning something else in order to help you remember. Okay. Good language learners use errors effectively. They don't get embarrassed. They don't get upset when they get an error. They want to find out what was wrong, why it was wrong, and how they can improve it. That's going to be a good language learner. They use contextual clues. They may not completely understand everything, but they can pick up cues going on during the conversation to help them understand what's going on. They make intelligent guesses. And a good language learner, he's going to shoot out there. He sees that it's kind of this way, and so he shoots in that direction. Hopefully, he's thinking that he's going to get it right. If he gets it wrong, someone's going to tell him so, right? So he'll make intelligent guesses. He learns tricks to keep the pace. Okay, he learns ways to continue the conversation or to control the conversation. So, I mean, a good language learner is going to be out there, and he's not going to want to slow down. He's going to keep up with the pace of the native speakers. Good language learners use a variety of speaking registers. So they've learned the registers, and they want to learn the registers so they can speak properly in a variety of locales and spaces. That's a good language learner. Good language learners also have a style, and they have traits that are consistent and that characterizes that particular person. And the styles that they have gives them strengths in some areas and weaknesses in other areas. And a good language learner is going to learn their style, know what their style is, and take advantage of their strengths and try to strengthen their weaknesses. Some strategies are specific methods and techniques for attacking a problem. I always love talking about circumlocution. It's a trick where you have a word here that you don't understand, and you're making a conversation, you don't know that word, so you go around it. You try to talk around that word by describing it and adding more words to it. Typically, this is native speaker language. This is a bad thing when you're using too many words to describe something. But if you're a second language learner and you don't know that word, the best way to describe it is circumlocution. And so there are a variety of techniques that you can use to do this. If someone is telling me something in another language and I don't understand, I'm going to ask them to rephrase it. Or I'm going to ask them to give me an example. Or, you know, I'm going to try to have some way for them to... I'm going to use the different techniques, is my point. There are different techniques that you can use. A good language learner is going to manipulate styles. He's going to adapt to a given situation. He's going to recognize when he's in a more formal setting or when he's in a less formal setting. He's going to recognize, because he's in that situation, that things are different, and so he needs to adapt. That's what a good language learner is going to do. He's noticing. Okay? We as teachers, we need to do the same thing. They're aware of their strengths and they're aware of their weaknesses, as I said earlier. So a good language learner is going to use their strengths and try to strengthen their weaknesses. All right. So you know and you have studied about language learning techniques, ways to memorize, ways to help you get information or give information, ways to go around a problem or handle a problem. Okay, you've learned these techniques and you should learn more of them. There are several books out there that have this information and lists out there as far as language learning strategies. How do you get your students to know these? How do you get them to notice that these strategies exist? Well, one thing you can do is an informal checklist. You can actually have the students do a checklist. Do you do these things? And there are checklists out there, strategies checklists, and have them go through and look at them and check them off. It's an opportunity for them to see what others are doing and possibly try to adapt or appropriate those. So you can do a learning style. You can do a personality test to find out what their personality strengths are, whether they're more emotional or whether they're more rational, whether they're more of a person who learns by listening or learns by doing or learns by reading. They can also read about successful language learners and what these people did in order to become successful language learners. I had a friend, and Brown also suggests that you create something called a 10 Commandments for second language learning. You create that list and you put it on the wall so that students can see it every day. These are the tools that you can use to help you become a better language learner. It's a good idea. It's indirect language learning. incidental learning that's going to be sitting there all the time. Whenever a student gets a little distracted, there it is, and they can see, oh, here's just strategies that I can use to learn. When you teach interactively. Okay? When you're teaching strategies, show them what it is. Model it. Practice it. Give them examples of how to do it. And there are a variety of examples in in the textbook by Brown that talks about a variety of different strategies. And have them administer a test for themselves so that they can say, hey, this is the things that I know that I'm good at. These are the things that I don't know that I've never used before. Get them thinking about the strategies. A good language teacher is also going to try to incorporate a strategy every week or every session, or so that they can be teaching these new strategies to students so they can take advantage of them. All right. Some textbooks actually have strategies embedded in them, which I think they're good textbooks. Again, I'm not a lover of textbooks, but they're trying to imbue their textbook with the strategies to help make automated, independent learners who can learn for themselves. And so I think it's an excellent idea if you have them. There may be self-help guides, independent study materials that you can give to your students to help them learn. You can create learning centers within your classroom or within your program, where students can go and learn about these SBIs, these strategies-based instructions, where they can sit and learn and practice a particular strategy while they're learning language. And so packages that are like that are going to be a definite help to you when you're teaching. And that's all I have for strategies-based instructions. I do think I want to give you guys a list of some places where you can find strategy. I just found this online. It is Strategies-Based Instruction, a Teacher's Guide by Andrew Cohen and Susan Weaver. I thought it would be worthwhile for you to look at it, since we were just recently talking about strategies-based instruction. You'll note from their table of contents here, they have language strategies and assessing language strategies, language and culture, motivation to do language learning. All of these would fit in line with what we were doing. I do recommend that you go get this. The title of it is Cohen-Weaver PDF. I'm certain that you'll be able to find it online. You should be able to find the title as well. Strategies, Styles and Strategies Based Instruction, a Teacher's Guide. This is from the Carlo Working Paper series, right? This is a very good paper if you're interested in learning more about strategies-based instruction. They do have a variety of things here. They have a variety of surveys. Here's some categories: sensory, perceptual, psychological type of learning styles, cognitive learning styles, some activities that you can learn to learn more about them. It's an excellent resource that you can use to supplement your understanding of what's going on here. Maybe in future I may even make this requirements. There are some sites that are out there that have them, and it's a good idea to use them to let your students know what types of strategies they can use or what times that they actually are using. Get them to think metacognitively and metalinguistically. Have a nice day, and I do hope to see you later.